Now, if you are someone who required to extract data for last n days, like last 7 days, last 30 days, 60 days, or even 6 months, I have an amazing method for you. Now, in this method, I'm going to show you a dynamic way to extract data for last n days. So make sure to watch this video till the end and do not forget to download a free ebook and a course at the end of this video. So let's have a look. Now, first of all, we need to set up a single cell to define for how many days we need to extract data. Right. So here I have my main data, and in this data, I have this column with dates. And in the separate worksheet, I have the single cell where I'm going to enter the number of days for which I want to extract data. So if I enter 7, I want to have data for last 7 days. First of all, I need to convert this single cell into a query in Power Query. So I'll select this cell, I convert it into an Excel table, the single cell. So I'll press Control T. And because I don't have headers here, I will not check mark this. My table has headers. And now I'm going to click OK. And it will convert my single value from cell A1 into an Excel table. Now the next thing is to hide this column header. So from the table design, I'm going to uncheck header row. And then I'll move the cell back to the cell A1. Now from here, the next thing is to load this single cell into the Power Query editor. So for this, I'm going to go to my data tab, get data from other sources, and then from table or range. And now my single value table is in the Power Query editor. I'll simply right click on the cell and select this option called drill down. And now I'm going to right click and rename this query with n days. That's it. And now I'm going to click on Home tab, close and load drop down, and from there, close and load to. And instead of loading this data, the single cell data back to any worksheet, I'll just create a connection. So I'll select only create connection and click OK. And here I have my single cell connection. Now we need to load our main data into Power Query editor. Now I'm into my main data, and I will also load this data into the Power Query. And for this, instead of going to data and then get data, I can simply right click and then use this option get data from table or range. And it will straight away load my data into the Power Query. And you can see I have my old query, that is n days. And here's my new table, sales data. And here, first of all, what I'll do, I'll convert this date and time, because I have date here and I also have this default 12 a.m. time, which I don't need. So I will select this column, go to transform, go to date drop down, and then date only. And you can see it has removed all those times from the dates. Now, this is the most important part of this video, where we're going to add a custom function in Power Query that allows you to extract data for last n days. So make sure to have a look. Now, just think about it. Let's say if I want data for 7 days, I need a condition that can identify which are the dates which belongs to last 7 days. Or if I want data for last 4 days, that condition needs to check the dates that belongs to last 4 days. So we need a custom column for this. So what I'll do, I'll go to add column and then I will click on custom column. And here I will rename this custom column first. I'll write this formula in 3 different parts. And first of all, I'll use 2 functions here, date.from and datetime.localTime. So when I use this function, the function which I have inside, this function gives me the local time and date. That means the current time that I have in my system, the date and the time. And then this function date.from only extract date by removing the time. So you only get date from date and time. And after that, I need to use one function from M language. And that function is duration. Let me paste the entire syntax of duration here. So in duration function, I'm using this hash because this function belongs to M language. And in this function, I have 4 arguments to define: days, hours, minutes, and seconds. Now, as I said, I need data for last n days. So I'm only going to define days in the days argument. So I'll define 7 here, for hours 0, for minutes 0, and for seconds 0 as well. So I have 7 days in the duration. Now, when I minus this 7 value, the value 7 from this date, which is the current date. So right now I have date 25 here. And when I minus 7 from 25, I get 18 in return. So that means it will give me 18 and I will get 18th April 2025 in the custom column. So let me just click OK and show you what I'm going to get in the custom column. So here I have 18th of April here. Let me open my dialog box again. Now in the third part of the formula, we are going to create a condition that will compare this 18th April with every single date in the actual date column. So I will refer to the date column at the beginning of this formula. So here I'm saying in the date column is greater than or equals to the date I have here. That is 18th of April. Now let me click OK and show you what I'm going to get in the return. So I have true for all the dates which are equal or above 18th April. So you can see 18th, 19th, 20, 21, 22, 23. Right? Let me click OK here. Now let me expand my formula bar. Now you can see here the number is here. The formula is basically here. And there is one problem with this formula, that this number, this particular number is a hard value. It's not a dynamic one. But if I want to change this number, the base from 7 to 4, I need to change it in the formula. But this is not something that we're going to do. So what we'll do, we will refer this query in this formula, this end days, where we have a number that is connected with a worksheet in our Excel workbook. So I'll come back here. I'll delete 7 from here and I'm going to write end days and hit enter. Now I have the formula that gives me true or false based on a condition, and the number that I'm using is connected with a cell in the worksheet. And now there's one more thing that I need to do before I load this data back to my workbook. I need to filter out all the values which are false, so that I will only get those dates which are in the range of last 7 or end days. So I'll click OK. And here I have my only true values. And from here, I'm going to click close and load, and then close and load to. And I'm going to load it to the dynamic worksheet. And let me load it here somewhere. And let me click OK. And here's my data table. Now we're going to test the query that we have just set up. So I will change this value from the cell A1, let's say from 7 to 4. And then in the data tab, I will click on this refresh all button. Now let me filter out, see how many days I have in the data. So I have last 4 days, and that is 24, 23, 22, and 21. So you can see today is 25 and I have last 4 days, data for last 4 days. But if I go with 10, and then again, if I refresh, and now let me filter out, and now I have data for last 10 days, 24 to 15th of April. Now in the end, let's create a pivot table and a chart. So let's create a simple pivot table. Go to insert tab, click on pivot table, and from table and range. I'm going to use the existing worksheet. Click here, and here's my blank pivot table. I'm going to use the regions and the total sales. So this is a simple pivot table that I have. Let me change the formatting here. Go to accounting, select none, no decimals, and here's my pivot table. So now we have this table dynamic, and I also want to have this pivot table dynamic as well. So first of all, I'll make a little change in this query. So I'll go to the query tab. When I select any cell from the table, I'll go to query tab, and from there I'm going to click on properties, and in the properties I need to untick this enable background refresh. So what will happen now when I click on refresh all, these two pivot table and this table, the query table, will refresh together. So let me go back in my data tab and let me change this value from here from 10 to 7. And now let me click on refresh all. So you can see the value is changing here also and in the table as well. So I have data for last 7 days and I have pivot table based on this particular table. So what is happening here? I'm getting this data, this table from the main sales table using this particular value, which has a query that creates this condition. And then from this table, I have this particular pivot table. So before I create my chart, I need to make a little tweak in this pivot table. So I'll go to design tab and grand total, and I will turn off grand total for rows and columns. And then I'm going to select this pivot table again. I'm going to go to my insert tab and click on all charts. And from there, I already have a template of column chart that I'm going to use. And I'm just going to click OK. And here I have my column chart. Let me add a few more columns here. And here I have my chart. Now again, this data is connected from the main data, and this pivot table is connected from this table, and this chart is connected with this particular pivot table. So this is how this entire dynamic mechanism works. Now, let me change this value again. Let me change it to from 7 to 10 and refresh my data. So you can see the data from the table is changing, data in the pivot table is changing, and my chart is also changing the values. Now to make this entire table, pivot table and chart dynamic, we need to use a small VBA code. So let's have a look. Now in this worksheet, I'm going to right click on the sheet tab and click on view code. And here I'm going to use a simple code that allows me to refresh the entire workbook if anything changes in the cell A1. So let me close it. And now let me change this value from 10 to, let's say, 4 and hit enter. So you can see everything is changing here. I have data here for 4 days. My pivot table has changed and my values in the chart already changed. Let me do it again. Let's say for 50 days. And you can see now I have data for last 50 days, pivot table, and here's my chart. So make sure to download this file from the link in the description and make sure to share your views in the comment section. I would love to talk to you and share me how you're going to use this entire idea of having a dynamic mechanism of filtering data based on last n days. Hey, thanks for watching this video, and you can download your free ebook that I have promised from the link in the description. And make sure to subscribe to the channel because I'll be coming out with a lot of cool Excel tips and tricks in coming weeks. So make sure to subscribe and like this video.